Welcome back. In the last episode, we made the alloy blast furnaces and redid our ore generation. And as it always happens, somebody pointed out in the comments a few things. The first one is that debris dust is actually entirely renewable. By electrolyzing purified debris dust, we can get a full debris dust back, run it through the chemical reactor for a chance of a small pile of purified debris dust. Which means that technically, all of this stuff is completely useless once we have our first. And the second one is that we're not actually capped by our LUV chemical bath. We can always just use a large chemical bath overclocked to LUV. So yeah, I'm definitely not the smartest Gregtech player out there, and it's always nice to have people commenting and telling me what I got wrong, which I do actually appreciate, so thank you. And in other news as well, in doing testing with our newly made ore processing blocks, I've realized they're actually really terrible. What I think we're going to do today, we're going to 8x parallel our ore processing and upgrade it to IV, which means the triumphant return of these yucky, ugly blocks. But if we run 8 macerators at IV, we're only consuming 2 EV amps of power and we'll be able to produce 160 items per second. That is absolutely staggering. And so to get things started, let's look at ore processing. This is going to be the last time for a while that we look at it, I promise, but it's just so important. These are all the patterns we're going to need for the advanced ore washer. So we need to be able to make the dust, then smelt the ingots, then we need the plates, rods, we make them into frame boxes, and then we can make the casings. It is pretty simple, but that's what we're going to have to do for all of these because I didn't automate it last time, which I am now regretting. Okay, so here we go, doing ore processing one more time. So I'm going to show you how to make a 4x multi-block. Basically, we're going to take this and multiply it by 4. And obviously, if you've played Gregtech before, you know what wall sharing is. But for those who haven't, wall sharing is just a process whereby one set of blocks become common among 2. So theoretically, if I were to place another ore washer here, which I'm going to, this wall here is shared. And since it's common among the multi-blocks, as in common in their structure, this wall here, we've saved ourselves on casing blocks and space. Not that we're lacking in space, really. Okay, so let's carve out the base, and let's set up the inputs and the outputs. So we need to have an input hatch, an output bus, then the input bus, another output bus, and an output hatch, all facing downwards. So how this is going to work is ore is going to be inserted into this input bus. So all 4 of them are going to have access to here. Then the 2 front ones are going to have this as their input hatch. So slight change here just between there. These 2 input hatches need to be connected to mainnet. So the subnet's going to run through the middle, and then this is going to run here. And then we need 4 energy hatches. So we're just going to place them on the corners like this. And there we go. So that's the structure of the multi-block. Now we just fill it in. And so that's the first bank done. Now I'm going to do that for all of our ore processing multi-blocks, and I will see you back when we have big, huge, fat blocks of blocks. Lots of blocks. My goodness me, that is so fast. Look at how quickly we are making that. We're actually still only running things at EV, not even IV, so there's still room for improvement. So we're currently running at 0.15 seconds. Once we upgrade the voltage, oh, I guess you can't upgrade the voltage anymore on these. So there you have it. Well, that's certainly a nice boost to our production. Let's keep upgrading. So despite not being able to decrease the amount of time it takes to wash these ores any more than we can, with 8 of these running at EV, we make a total of 53 items per second, which is blisteringly fast. And the macerators and thermal centrifuges, 8 of them running at EV, are going to be able to produce 26 items per second. So right now the ore washers are going to be the fastest, but once we upgrade to IV, they're going to become the bottleneck. And speaking of upgrading to IV, let's have a look at how we do that. So it actually looks like we need to do the indium concentrate line. Not a difficult processing line at all. It just requires purified galena and sphalerite with some sulfuric acid to make concentrate, and then you react the concentrate with aluminium to get lead zinc solution, aluminium sulfite, and indium. Really a very easy process. And then all we have to do is electrolyze both the products, so the aluminium sulfite and the lead zinc solution can just be electrolyzed. So 3 machines again, not too difficult. Let's set that up. Okay, so actually lead zinc solution requires a centrifuge, so 4 machines. EV mixer, completed. Chemical reactor, all done. Centrifuge and electrolyzer. All crafting up, ready to go. So centrifuge and electrolyzer. So I think what we'll do is we'll replace our old polyethylene setup with our indium setup. So let's get to tearing this old thing down and building something new. Alright, so this process is actually very simple. We need the mixer, then we need a chemical reactor, and then we actually need to just sort out a oh my gosh. That's a centrifuge. How about we try that again? We need the mixer, followed by the chemical reactor, and then the electrolyzer and the centrifuge. We're going to export the indium concentrate from the mixer directly into the chemical reactor, where we're going to mix it on circuit 4 with aluminium. So let's set the circuit. And then this is pretty simple. No, it's not as simple as I would like it to be. We're actually going to set it up like this because I know how temperamental my applied energistics system is being right now. So we want to send the indium directly into our system. We want our lead zinc solution to go straight to the centrifuge and the aluminium sulfite straight to the electrolyzer. So this is going to be simple. We're going to need 2 interfaces on the top and the bottom of the mixer. The first one will be the item input, and the bottom one will be the pump. And before I make a silly mistake, we actually need a robot arm here, because we're going to import, and we're going to keep exact. And we're just going to go for 10. It's a nice round number. Because the indium concentrate needs galena and sphalerite, and if we just let them both pile up, then we're going to run out of space, and it's going to overfill, and we're going to have some issues. And in the bottom, we want to import sulfuric acid. Set it to a normal amount. And then import with the pump. So that should make indium concentrate. Alright, and let's set the filter here to pull in purified sphalerite and purified galena. And in ore processing, we've got the filters set, so let's just import some sphalerite into the system. And let's import some galena into the system as well. And let's see. Perfect, so we've imported about 5,000 of each, so that should tide us over for now. Yep, there we go, sphalerite's been imported. And we can just directly output that into the chemical reactor, which is going to need 2 interfaces. The bottom one is going to be our import, and it's going to be aluminium dust, which if I can find it here, there it is. So importing aluminium dust, and then we can export everything out the top. Now we have 2 products, lead zinc and aluminium to get through. Lead zinc is the centrifuge. So the centrifuge is going to need a pump on the bottom, and then the electrolyzer is a conveyor module. Set to import, and output everything out the top, import, output the top. Then we grab interfaces, set the filter, and the other filter, and we're finished. Indium is actually that simple to set up. Okay, and let's just make sure everything's been imported. Oh, that was fast. Alright, now all we have to do is connect it up, and it should just start working. There we go, indium concentrate. I'm going to have to upgrade the pump on here. Right, we've already got our electrolyzing done. Beautiful, which means we already have an indium dust. That's just beautiful. Let's pretty it up and move on. Alrighty, we already have 9 indium now. So, what do we use indium for? Well, according to the quest book for the HPIC wafers, we're going to need to make it into indium gallium phosphide, which is circuit 1 in a low voltage mixer. So, let's just set a recipe, put it in the mixer, and request some dust. And now we've got our in gap. And now we have indium gallium phosphide, so the next step is how to make HPIC wafers, which I believe is the second last tier of powered wafer in the game. I don't think you can do anything with the UHPICs. Nope. Cool. So, HPICs require our MPICs, which now we have started to buffer. We need vanadium gallium in liquid form, and we need an IV chemical reactor. Oh, and it also needs to be in the clean room, which means we need to pick a spot in here to start making HPICs and eventually UHPICs, which I think we're going to use these spots to make some more chemical processes. So we'll request 2 more large chemical reactors. We're also going to set a recipe for vanadium gallium, which is also circuit 1 in an EV mixer. And then we'll set our blast furnace recipe, this is how I do it. So I set up 64 patterns because we have 8 blast furnaces, so it's pretty quick. And then I just place the pattern into our pattern provider, go to our vacuum freezers, and set a request on the ME extended interfaces for vanadium gallium ingots. And so let's just request some vanadium gallium now. We're going to need it's going to need to make 64, but we have a lot of vanadium and a lot of gallium and a lot of time. And let's also set a recipe for our liquid vanadium gallium. So we need 1 ingot to 144 millibuckets, and then we can place it into our fluid extractor. And what we're going to do, I think, is because these take a whole minute to craft each, we're never really going to want to just make one at a time. That just seems to be a waste of it, especially because we're going to be creating 64 vanadium gallium every single time we smelt it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to batch craft in stacks. So we're just going to take this stack and we'll do this. And here's the nice part about AE2 again, is we can do maths. So that's going to be 18 buckets. I know this is going to be 128, but just for convenience sake. And then 64. Done. So this is going to make us 64 HPICs. We're also going to need to get an ingredient buffer, which we can just request in parts. We're going to take out our chemical reactors. And I definitely think this mixer is going to need an upgrade. 20 seconds at EV? That just won't do. So let's get the general structure down now. What we're going to do is we're going to have our chemical reactors just like this. We get our pipe casings and then sharing the coil. And our bottom one is going to be our HPICs. So let's make sure we get enough energy hatches. So it needs 2 EV energy hatches. And we can place those here. And just reminding myself, it needs 1 input bus, 1 input hatch, and 1 output hatch. So our input hatch, our input bus, which we can place input hatch, input bus, output hatch. We'll bring an applied energistics line across here. We'll have an interface. We can place our ingredient buffer here, a pattern provider on the ingredient buffer with our pattern, and then a fluid pipe into the hatch. Make sure we set to extract, and an item pipe setting to extract. And of course, then you connect up the applied energistics. It is online, and we can finish off the multi-block now. Don't forget maintenance hatch taped up. Okay, let's craft an EV diode. Beautiful. I really hate doing this because it resets the clean room, but we're going to have to break through here. Place a diode. We'll place a transformer on the diode and run our IV cable over to the main power supply. Connect it, and it's powered. And now we're getting power through the diode. It is EV power, so we'll use our Enderium wire. I know it's pretty dark, but there we are. So now, energy hatch is powered. And we're only letting 1 amp through here. So that's going to limit it. So we're just going to hit it with a soft mallet and allow the full 4 amps to pass through. So theoretically now, we can request 64 HPICs. And why the hell not? Why shouldn't I? It's going to take 128 ingots of vanadium gallium, which is totally fine. Done. All right. May as well. I think this is going to take 30 minutes or so. So may as well get it started now, right? And once we have those HPICs, we'll be able to get IV energy hatches. And I believe we can make 1 IV energy hatch per HPIC. And it needs to be an IV cutter. Great. What do we need for that? Tungsten carbide blade. Yep, that should be fine. So we'll make the tungsten carbide cutting saw, and then we can just request. I'm not sure if you ever noticed this. I really struggle to say the words request the rest. I have mucked that up in so many different takes. How about I try it once more? Let's request the rest. And now we just get to play the waiting game. So I'll see you back when that's all set up. So after a little bit, let's request, I don't know, 30 IV energy hatches? No, okay, we can make 27. So Let's request 27 IV energy hatches. Ooh, better check the recipes. And there's the problem. Yoink. And now we can request. Beautiful. Lots of smelting to do. And in thinking about these new IV energy hatches, there's a few places that I want to pepper them. First up is going to have to be the blast furnaces. Then will probably be auto crafting with an upgrade coming soon. And probably our platinum processing, because with our new ore processing, we have 100,000 platinum group sludge to go through. And currently this is taking 6 seconds per PGS dust. And sure, at ZPM we do get to upgrade it, but for now, the next upgrade to IV is going to allow us to do it in 1.5 seconds. And we can upgrade some of the other slower processes, like this chemical reactor, for inert metal mixture. There's 3,000 inert metal mixture buffered up. Everything else seems to be processed nice and quickly, but we can make it faster. And then of course, ore processing. We want to be able to process as much ore as possible and as fast as possible, because I actually want to see these walls empty. I don't want to see 1 million iron ore chilling out in a box. I want to see millions of iron dust chilling in my storage. But we still need the large mixer. So let's see what the large mixer requires. It's Kovar casing, which is just iron, nickel, and cobalt. So Kovar, ingot, more ingot, plate, rod, frame, and casing. So let's get the large mixer, because I'm sick of waiting for it. So let's make the large mixer. Because frankly, I'm sick of this. 10 seconds for 2 dust? Waste of my very important, very precious time. We'll also request a high voltage mixer and the multi-block upgrade kit. So, IV energy hatches and a mixer later, there's just a few short things I want to do before we wrap up today's episode. I say short as if I don't always think that, and then it turns out to be like a 4-hour endeavor. So yeah, maybe it will be short, maybe it won't. First thing I want to do is I want to make HSSG coils for our blast furnaces. All of them, in fact, which is going to be like 126 coils. So thank goodness these are fast. So let's set some recipes. HSSG is circuit 1. Make sure molybdenum is 2. Yep. There we go. That should be all right. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. There we are. There's the pattern for smelting. Let's set up the coil pattern. So that's going to need tungsten carbide foils, and HSSG wire. So the wire is easy enough. Tungsten carbide foils are easy enough. And liquid tungsten is also very easy. Assuming we can find the recipe. There it is. Done. Yeah, so let's set the patterns and see how long that takes to craft. And HSSG is at EV, and so we're running at IV. Yeah, okay. It should be fine. Okay, so recipes are all set. So let's do 42 times 3 for all of our blast furnaces. 126. Of course, we're missing 2. No, we're missing 94 carbon dust. Where's all of our carbon gone? Oh, we're actually out of carbon. That's crazy. Okay, so we now have enough carbon and everything. Wow, that's 1,024 ingots. Dang, that's a good amount. All right, well, this should be doable. Let's see how fast the mixer is. Oh, 3 seconds to make tungsten steel. That's not too bad. Okay, so I guess I just get to leave that running in the background. As per usual, the next thing I want to do is to finish off our purified netherite line. That's just going to take some chlorine trifluoride, very easy to make, and then some tetrachloroethylene, which is slightly less easy to make, but not too bad actually. And if you blink once, you'll miss it, and you will miss it because I'm an idiot. I forgot to record finishing off the netherite line. I do apologize for that, but bear with me while I explain it. So we have 3 new chemical reactors here in our netherite processing line, and 1 new large chemical reactor, which we finished off. The first chemical reactor here is processing fluorine and chlorine into chlorine trifluorine. Don't worry about the distilled water. That chlorine trifluorine is being imported into the large chemical reactor with netherite dust or debris dust and is then purified. The next chemical reactor turns ethane and chlorine into dichloroethane and hydrochloric acid. We then turn dichloroethylene into tetrachloroethylene and more hydrochloric acid. And from there, we then move on to the large chemical bath, which looks a bit funny because the controller is actually on the other side, but it fits so snugly. You're gonna say no to him? He looks like he's all wrapped up in a blanket. And this takes our purified debris dust, mixes it with tetrachloroethylene to get pure netherite dust. And that's actually been buffering for a while now, so we now have stacks of pure netherite dust. And honestly, looking ahead to seeing some of the horrific alloys we have to make, I don't think we're going to be able to make enough of it. And in the meantime, since setting all of that up, our HSSG coils have all smelted. Almost 2 stacks. So let's replace all of our coils. I do also think that maybe it's time we start automating the purified debris dust a bit faster. We are being capped on this slow process here of 2 seconds per agglomeratio. We just don't work like that. It's Gregtech, everything needs to be fast. So I think what we're going to do with the products of this chemical reactor, that being these 2 types of dust, we're actually going to immediately send purified debris dust straight into our base's electrolyzer. And so now we can run this recipe every 10 seconds, permanently, as long as this chemical reactor still continues to work. But it's basically free. 100 chlorine trifluorine for a dust? Yeah, easy. And we can't just send these small piles of debris straight into the chemical bath. We actually need to have them be larger piles. Let's request an elite packer. So there's the packer. We'll go underneath our chemical bath. Let's just take those out. We're going to place the packer, a conveyor module on the bottom, set to import, and now set this interface to request these small piles. It'll import the small piles, put it on circuit 1, make sure you actually plug in the power, and then it will automatically import itself into the input bus. And now I'm happy with saying that that's how much purified debris dust I want to go through. You know what? We have the power. Why not change this chemical reactor to run at LUV? It's as simple as yoink. It's as simple as that. And now it runs at 3 seconds and improves our likelihood of getting a smaller pile. And let's just turn this chemical reactor on for a while. And I've made a mistake. We actually don't have to pause this because we have a pump importing directly into this chemical reactor. It should be fine. So we can leave our netherite production safe in the knowledge that we are going to continue to increase our amount of pure netherite. And hopefully over the course of this playthrough, we just continue to buffer up pure netherite dust. It does take a while and a lot of power, but yeah, that's fine. And just a quick update on the vine progression, it is starting to grow quite large. It's already taken over a fair amount of the base, and I'm getting a little worried, but I'm still not too concerned. The most concerning part is it's spreading these glowing orbs into the current trees, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to do, but hopefully nothing bad. It doesn't seem to have affected anything yet, and so I'm just going to continue to leave it. And with all that, I think it's about time we wrap up today's episode, don't you think? We've made blocks, more blocks, some different colored blocks, and more blocks. We're getting so close to finishing off the IV quest page now. I think we can finally start investing in these large sieves and cobblework machines. Maybe. I kind of like our dinky little setups. Plus, we have no hope of processing all those ores. Not yet, at least. We've upgraded blast furnaces and finished off some pretty grueling chemical processes. And if you've liked what you've seen through today's episode, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and turn on that bell. It really helps the channel, boosts it in the algorithm, and lets me keep doing what I love doing, which is feeding your hungry eyeballs with lots of yummy content. And finally, as always, see you next time.